Just a quick intro about me, so you know my lens. I'm Brazilian engineer. I did an MBA in France, and I'm around 30 years in talent acquisition and also recruiting. So I see personal branding from the inside. That means how recruiters and leaders decide. And I can see how some profiles get interviews or more customer fast, and why others profiles, even strong ones, stay more invisible. And the goal today here is very simple, is to help you to become obvious to the right opportunities, especially now in AI era. So let's set the context. Personal branding matters now because the world is also, world of work is changing really fast. And when we have this speed, the world is changing fast. Clarity starts to become a superpower for us. It's not news, what is happening today. That is AI, automation, digital transformation are all reshaping the world of work, the workforce, and some jobs will disappear, new jobs will be created. The key message of all of this is that that's not only about jobs title changing, it's also about skills. So what we do is changing. And the question we need to start to answer is not what is my job title, is what value I create, because this will be the basis for what we're going to do here today. And what is the impact of all of it? That means World Economic Forum says that by 2030, many people will need to reskill and upskill. That means that we'll learn new things many times in our career. And before we had more stability, but now we have a new definition of stability. That means it's the stability of being adaptable, or have to know that from now on, we start to learn how to navigate in chaos. And it's already happening. This is not the future, it's already happening right now. We can see here for like the news, we see it in layoffs. We have this week Amazon coming up. We had Microsoft, Salesforce, and the giants, but we have much more. That is new business models coming up, and also the new workforce landscape. So, but that are not just no bad news. We have also the good news, that is for hiring. We have new roles, new tools, new expectations, and the key here is start to, even from small steps, we can start to build advantage from this. And how we do that? This is the era of lifelong learning. So that means that AI is changing how we learn. And before, we did a course, time for do that, and maybe a teacher, someone guiding us to learn. And now we can learn faster with AI, just ourselves. And we just need to know what to ask and what to practice and how to apply. So learning is not the problem anymore. The problem is what I'm going to learn, the right thing for the strategy I'm building. And where we are right now is exactly the intersection between lifelong learning. That means we're going to expand the rest of our careers learning new skills, the skills of the future, that some of them will remain, some of them they're going to change, and other disappears. And AI-powered learning, that means now I can do it by myself and just need to have a clear strategy for that. We're not talking yet about personal branding, but the idea is to give this context about skills and competence and the future of work. The idea here is to show a concept of Josh Bersin. Josh Bersin is a reference in the world of HR, and he shows us in this graphic that in the near future, we are going to have, when we evolve AI, we start to have from now that we have the first step here in the bottom, we start to have like from 15 to 30 of improvement in performance in what I do with AI. So some things that I do, especially repetitive tasks, they're changing. So it's still in the phase of redesign of work. And when you start to use more AI, we start to re-engineer the work. So that means that almost everything changed that we're going to do. And the last stage is when people start to act like a super work. That means that we're not going to be replaced by AI, but someone will be amplified by AI. Just to explain a little bit more this concept, this slide means that the jobs will start to become hybrid. So that means you and AI, not you versus AI. And the advantage of humans here is not competing on tasks, because tasks will be replaced. We should focus on decision, quality, creativity, relationship, strategic thinking, execution, and also speed of what we're doing. Because the super workers, like, we're going to have our job roles already designed. So what remains is exactly what we can do that cannot be replaced by a robot. And where all this concept comes from also, I'd like to bring here some reference in the market. And last year, one of the most important panels at South by Southwest was Ian B. Kraft. And during his panel, he said something that really stayed with me, that is, for many years, career felt stable. And it's what we learn from the beginning. We learn a skill, a profession, and this profession or this skill could last a long time. And maybe we update ourselves every 2-3 years, especially when we had some new tool arrived, when the company changed systems or something like this. But now the rhythm has changed, and what he predicts is that within some years, not now, because now we're like in every 1 year or 2 years, 2.5 years, we start to changing skills, or that means upskilling or reskilling. We can think about our career, how many things we had to learn from 2 years ago from now to do what we always been doing during our life, right? The prediction here is that skills start to change every 6 months. And he also said in his panel that is really scary, because it feels like we are going to learn something that's already old. When you start to think about performance in this scenario, this is also a big insight that he's brought, that performance is not anymore what I do, but how fast I adapt. And from this, probably we'll face in the really near future, because we had some like a war of talent some years ago for technology developers and so on. Now it's a little bit like machine learning engineers. But the next war of talent, he predicts that is going to be when we have rapid skills acquisition, and company will start to fight for people who learn fast and also execute fast. And from this, we start to have new metrics for companies that start for the number of new ideas, prototypes, employee learning velocity, experimentation rate, and that all changes how we see, for example, metrics, performance, and KPIs. So that starts to change the whole business model, right? And the question here is how I adapted this scenario to my career, if everything is going to change and we don't know exactly what I need to improve in my skills. The thing is here is like to keep in mind is that we start to understand that the learning speed starts to become competitive advantage for us. And if you think about the core skills that we started to develop or to upskill or improve from our portfolio, we should start to improve not only technical, because technical, if you see, is a little bit difficult to see the main skills here in this graphic, but there's interesting because we say here that programming is in the out of focus skills, reading, writing, and mathematics also out of focus because a lot of things is going to be replaced. And then we have like 3 groups of important skills. That is thinking skills, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. And then the second one, that's more about adaptability, ambidextry, discipline, that is self-management. And the last one is communication, like people skills, influence, collaboration, because we start to act in communities and depends a lot on rely on the trust among us. And if your personal brand start to show these groups, you already had a huge advantage in the future. This is a 2023 presentation from Ryan Roslansky, which is LinkedIn CEO, and he showed that 2-3 years ago, but it's still reality. He was showing in this just the yellow. It was like 100% of the skills of a product manager in LinkedIn, and the yellow part is what they would change by 2030. That means that almost big part of what he does would be replaced, or he had to adapt this to work with an AI agent with him. And the reality he wanted to show here is that skill is going to change. And the most important thing is not to rely our identity in our job title, but start to build our identity as professionals, as our values, our strengths, and also the outcomes I bring. So it starts the concept of what is a career portfolio. And the next one, that means that in this near future, we start to see the career ladder that is like junior, senior, manager, director, as an old model that is step by step, and it's really linear. And for this future, probably career won't be linear anymore or a ladder. For the future, we start to have like a path that is called a career portfolio, a portfolio of skills. And this is a concept that is kind of new in HR, but it's started to be already spread. Because people start to change industry. You may change industry, you may combine your skills, you may work as we do in fractional, for example, which is we are supported by Landa, for example. We work with the projects, consulting, hybrid roles. And this is going to be more and more common because portfolio career is going to be the new model for careers. And that means that we start to become, career becomes a portfolio of skills. And to start to build your portfolio of skills, you need to answer some questions like, what are my strongest skills today? What skills I'm building next? What problems do I solve? And when I communicate, I can communicate this clearly. People can understand what I do, what I solve, because if they do, they start to trust you. And changing from the future of work to what I do with my career, what I do with this, and how I change my visibility. I also would like to show a context which is very important. That is, when you say that we need to adapt to the market and bring this experience, and people need to understand, and also you need to have the need for this problem that will be solved. We need to understand also how the market is going, and we start to see that is the market is moving from single companies to ecosystems. That means that careers will be more connected to networks, the digital world, platforms, communities. And one example that I brought here is that marketplace that we see every day in our lives already, like Amazon, Meli, and so on. Marketplace starts to become media companies. We can see a lot of fintechization, we say here in Brazil. I believe that is also the same word that we use in all Latin America, like fintechization of non-financial companies, that they start to become also, they have a fintech arm. And that means that if the company expands, also the roles change and expand, and also the skills. So that means that we have more opportunity, but also if we know and we can show what kind of problem we solve, especially in this kind of scenario. I like to show this a lot as the one of a very powerful example, which shows the power of ecosystems, actually, that is Mercado Libre. It's the example of a high growth companies that they create many segments and many revenue streams. That means they keep the core and they keep growing on the core, but they start to develop this with these segments, like more incremental streams revenue. And the thing is, people start to move across functions and also business. And this is the explanation why hybrid profiles start to rise. And we're going to talk about these hybrid profiles later on as well. But I just would like to give this context. And for the next, we also have, among all of this, Agentic AI. That is technology enabling agentic AI, which was the most important thing that last week in NFR, that is the most important event for retail worldwide. They were exactly talking about it. That is, have more agentic AI and more automation. And the professional now that wins, and also the consultants or the fractional that wins in this kind of world, is the ones that combines business understanding, AI leverage, and also communication. Because all of this will be connected. When I talked before, we're going to be in this ecosystem of platforms, connection, and automation is exactly that. And giving an example for operation, for CX and customer success, which are evolving a lot and really, really fast, we starting to move, for example, from managing journeys, a lot of process. I don't know if there's someone here from CX or customer experience operation, but there's always a lot of process, a lot of metrics, a huge teams like 100, 300 people. And now we start to see companies that do this with few people, just orchestrating ecosystem, doing prompt engineering and orchestrating communities, data, and personalization for the customer. What that means is that once you are in this profession, you need to start to learn new things. And even with these hybrid careers, I said before, for the ecosystems, we start to see a lot of growth career, RevOps, which is kind of sometimes is within finance, sometimes within marketing or sales. It depends on the company. We start to have the product builder, which is the product manager that start to automate things. Revenue management, which is a new kind of C-level, the CRO. The CRO will start to see things a little bit more connected between marketing, sales, growth, and so on. New profession that is the GTM. We have a GTM engineer. We hired a GTM engineer 1 week ago. And it's the salesman that can see how to automate things in sales, process in sales, and much more finance M&A, because become ecosystem. Normally they grow by hiring M&As, and then we start to see finance combining with M&As and designer of experience, for example. And all of this, the designer is one of professions also. Designer already, they are creating with AI static personas. So what is really interesting here is that all of this, they are hybrid careers. So if I have like the core in design or sales or marketing, I can, once I understand what these new hybrid careers they do, I can already adapt what I know and upskill to become this like desired consultant or desired profession in the market today. And one idea for the new AI roles, also prompt engineer, the validator, data engineer, AI architect, product manager, UX designer, using these AI tools, not with the traditional tools that they're using, AI developer. And it shows the direction that every function will be impacted, even if you don't want to move to AI, for example. So what I do with all of this, how I create this portfolio of career and make it visible. So the first thing that make your portfolio career unique is that the only thing that you combine and people normally they ask you, and just you do it in a really easy way, and it's really like it's a flow that you can bring results really fast. So thinking about what makes your career portfolio unique, and once you have this answer, people start to see it, understand it, and trust it. And this is personal branding. Like personal branding will be the shortcut to trust. because from now on, it's really difficult and hard for us to trust things. Like we don't know what is fake news anymore, what is deep fake or not. And it's why people say that community are going to be stronger, because it's where people will start to rely on is on trust. And if we don't trust, we don't connect. And the methodology here, I use an idea in the beginning. It's what I do in the mentorship program I have. There are 3 steps. I use first the iceberg idea. That means visible skills. We start with a brainstorming. Like, what are your visible skills? What people see in your CV or LinkedIn, for example. And then you have the hidden skills that is hidden in the iceberg. So it's what makes you special. Your judgments, your patterns, your way of leadership, creativity, tastes. And from this self-awareness, brainstorming before your self-awareness, we go through these 3 steps. The first one is self-awareness itself, where we do this mapping of visible and hidden skills, and you start to think about our real value. And here is very interesting, because there is a point here when we are brainstorming about our career. That is the point that is most important one, that is called sweet spot of genius. You can say a lot of things, ikigai, sweet spot of genius, or like your most important talent, your superpower. There's a lot of names, but the pattern of a sweet spot of genius, and we all have one. So we have to be all proud of our journey, our portfolio, is what you do and is natural and great and creates real results. And also one very important thing, because sometimes it's easy for us to identify what we do is natural, creates the real results, but we also need to answer the question that what the market values and pays for. So that's why it's important to not only to focus on ourselves. This is the first step. It's very important, but also to understand what is the context of the world. If the future of work, the job titles will change really fast, the skills also. Our sweet spot, it's the asset we have. And then we go from this self-awareness, we go to understand. Normally you start to have more clarity about your path, because you understand your sweet spot of genius, what I'm really good at, and then I find my path. Normally now people, they tend to be like, once they find the sweet spot of genius, they start to see how they will evolve with AI. It's like a combination. And then you have a path, a very clear path. We start to work in our brand core. And that's really interesting, because Landa Club has an amazing methodology for the brand core, which is, I call like the unique value proposition. That means what you stand for, like who do you help? And with Landa Club, we have we start to build our niche and the ideal customer profile, which is the same thing. Because here we start to understand much more than the real value is what value I bring to the right target. So I cannot bring value to everyone. And then we start to niche what you do. And the last one, once I understand my brand core, how do I show and prove to become trusted? So all of this is to bring clarity and also to build reputation. We can move on. So how do I build this reputation? Once I do all this, start to, I finish these all 3 steps, I started to define then my portfolio of career, the direction, the path I want to follow. I started to craft a message to my target, my target public. I fit my audience, understand their journey, their pains, desires, and from this we can call persona or ICP or ideal customer profile. I can start to execute faster with AI, so I can create content, draft, structure ideas, messages. So the idea here is to have a basis, and then you can amplify all of this with AI. And here I want to bring more practical exercises, which is more focused on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has some patterns. That is profile, headline, about, skills, and recommendation. I brought LinkedIn because it's the most known platform for professional connections. is where in digital world we're going to connect with, let's say, candidates, someone to hire, some with companies that we're going to hire us, or to become customers, clients, or partners. And this is very important, because if you think like a recruiter or even a salesperson, what they do, they scan you like a recruiter, like you're really scanned all the experience, the skills, the keywords that you write in your LinkedIn. So with these keywords, we need to decide fast and say like the profile is yes, I understand what they do and I connect to the right opportunity. So it really should be really clear, the message, and with the right keywords. And here, the first pillar, that is profile and cover, it sounds really obvious, like cover and profile, and people sometimes we make joke like, why I'm going to care about my, like, the photo I'm putting on LinkedIn, but it all generates clarity and trust. So the photo should be professional, friendly, good light. The cover should match the niche you're matching. When this visual matches the story you're telling, the brain of who is seeing that will trust you faster and easier. For the second, we have the headline. That is the current role. You can use like a formula. Current role, what differences you from others, your core skills or the value delivered. And I have a case to tell here. I promise that it will be really fast, like I'll make a short, long story. I have one person I was doing a mentoring, and he was like pricing director of pharma industry, and he was coming back. He spent part of his career, like some month in a project, and he wanted to come back to the corporate life. And for some months he didn't receive any approach from recruiters or from peers or colleagues, and he was really worried about it. And we start to navigate in I have some methodologies, like you start to see patterns of people who do exactly the same thing that you do, and you like going to stalk them and see what they are, how they new role. And it's funny because what he did, it wasn't just pricing, was wider, was revenue management. And we saw that 90% of people that were like very well placed in the market he was looking for, they were saying that their skills, it wasn't pricing, it was revenue management. That really small detail, but once he changed this revenue management and started to show himself as a CRO or something like this, he really started to gain more visibility. It was like changing from one day to another. He started to receive approach, and yeah, he could find the path in a really short time. But this really is a small example of how we can really talk about our main skills, our core skills, and that sometimes in the market things change. Growth is an example. Sometimes people say, when I interview people, they say like, what I did like 10 years ago was what people now call on the hype growth, but it was this and this and this. But it's important to know how the market is calling the capability or the skills, because then you can match what they're really looking for. It makes sense what you see in your professional life or with customers. It makes sense that. So here, when you start to talk about you, is who you are, key experience and profession, what you do, skills and areas of expertise, suits. We need to reinforce here like wins and impact. That means results, and what you're looking for. And here is very important. Once I finish my about, I included these keywords that is related to the path I chose and the brand core I also chose, because this will be part of the algorithm, and that, or even recruiters or customers, they're going to look for you. And here is in the last part of the about, which is the top skills. You have two parts. You can add skills, and you can also add the top skills. Both, they are very important, but the top skills, you can put 5, and normally the core of what you do, your sweet spot is really here. it's also going to help people to find you through the right competencies you have. And for the last, when you talk about experience, it's very important to show the proofs. So I use the same methodology for recruitment, executive search. The formula is very simple. We evaluate the answer that has a structure like task, action, and result, or the problem, task that are, so you start to give the context of the problem that you had to solve, the task that you had in this, the responsibility you had, the action that you took, and what was the result. Of course, sometimes we cannot show numbers, there is NDA, something like this, but numbers are very important because they are part of these proofs. And why all that? This is very important because most part of the opportunities, and I say this as recruiter, they are not posted. There is a magic number that we say that only 10 to 20% of the opportunities people know. And the real opportunities will come from network, referral, internal conversations, and also recruiters, for example, if you are looking for a job, for example. And here is exactly the tool that recruiters use to find out people. They're going to find out your job title, the location you are, the skills. I don't know if you can see what is written here. It's everything. It simulates a Boolean search, and also we can create Booleans, which is also you show the system how to find out people. But here, like, we put all the skills, the top skills, and it is how people are going to find you. It's the same that salespeople do for find out customers, like source. And all of this for saying that for your network, I need to understand, once I have my core brand, once I know exactly what I want to communicate, I can start to map my network and understand the value I add to this network. Normally, this value is connected to your sweet spot, and then connect it authentically. That means in a genuine way, because creating relationship and start networking is mutual, it's not like self-interest. And from this, you can start to be visible in events, on communities, or creating content that is all connected to your brand core, target public you have, and the problem that you solve. And this create values to people, and it's an ongoing process. Once I have this, I start to grow and to connect to people, and that how it's going to work. So there is a continued process. And just to close, I want to give you 3 key messages. That personal branding, we saw that it's all related to find out what problem I solve and how I'm going to add value to other people. So the target public. So it's not about pretending to be not what we are or self-promote. It's really to focus on the customer pain or what you're going to solve for them, what value I create for people. It is personal branding is to understand this, is in translate your value into a message that the public, the people that you are targeting can understand. So the message here is like clarity is magnetic, and when we are clear to the right people, they move towards us. And this is the message I'd like to bring to you about personal branding. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Maiara. It's really nice. Really, it was a good understanding. I think I have a marketing background as well. So, positioning, being trust, knowing what you are doing, and especially given the context that we are now, so where we want to move forward, I think it's the time to think about and repositioning ourselves as well. I don't know if anyone wants to have some questions for Maiara. Do you want to ask any personal questions? We still have a few minutes until we reach our times. If anyone would like to say anything.
I do have a question. So how important is to have, or because I've seen, right, and I And I think it's quite nice, but I just want to understand more from how much useful is, to have like a personal side branding with experiences, how relevant is to, to potentially show or to capture the interest, from people. That you said that there is this high level profile where you can put some of your skills, but how much do you go potentially you in your day-to-day job go and see what actually that person has done as a kind of portfolio? I don't know if it was clear, the point.
You mean for a professional, or someone is looking for a job or a customer?
Yeah.
Normally, if we think like people normally, they tend to apply for jobs when you like decide to make a career move. You start to apply for a job, and I think 90% of people, they start to being frustrated about it because normally we don't receive answers, and it's very generic. And we tend to say we have like also a magic number which is already proved, but applications, that is what you do when you do the job application, normally has a success rate of less than 5%. That means that even if you're really strong, you have a really strong profile, it matches the job. Sometimes the profile is, you cannot see this match when you're like among 1,000, 2,000 people that are doing this application. Of course, the recruiters, they go, the first thing they do is to look for these opportunities, but we need to scale what we do. So what we do is to find out among 1,000 CVs, we find out keywords about the niche, about important skills. And if you don't use the keywords, normally you won't be found. So that's the important thing. How you're going to find out these keywords is really to understand the niche you're at, and the ecosystem that you were at, because they have like the jargons and so on. Giving a small example for this, I work a lot with marketplace, and I know that some recruiters and even hiring managers, when you were talking about logistics, for example, and you want someone that is really understand the network and supply chain and so on for marketplace, we don't use like words like supply chain, logistics, or something like this, because then you're going to have like 1 million candidates to check. So we use jargons like last mile, middle mile, because if someone puts this on the CV, it's more probably to be like someone from, this niche. So that's why keywords are really important. Okay. And I believe when you're searching for something very, very specific, and as professionals and as citizens, I think we start to look for a personalized experience. So if you have a problem, you're not going to find someone that is really generic to solve your problem. You're really going to find out the specialist of it. So you're going to search for keywords.
Thank you.
Hello, Mai. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Great.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for your talk. I wanted to ask you, considering the Landa community, how to project that, let's say, double personality when you are both a manager and you are a fractional?
That's a great question. What I say always, it's something, I don't know if it is correct to answer, but since I also have this issue, because I work in different roles, I have my B2B business, which is my core for executive search, and my main customers are companies in high growth, and I have the mentorship, which is the B2B. What I did was to divide my social media. So 90% of everything I produce and post, and the things I talk about, my content, and I drive everything I do on LinkedIn for my B2B customers, and I prepared my Instagram to my B2C business, like the channel would be like Instagram. So I divide their social media, because once you try to show everything, people get confused, and you're not a specialist anymore. So there was also an issue for me.
So that's a solution. I always say that Bruce Wayne and Batman do not share the same Instagram account.
Yes, exactly. And now there is TikTok Shop, which is not the same public, but people are getting a lot of money over there.
Great, thank you.
But I also, just to step in as well, just that I really liked the concept. I think someone else also, I think Lukenheim, I don't know how to say the name, but also said that, love that, the concept of portfolio of careers and skills. So I think, having that mindset that we are multiple, we have different skills and we can maybe divide, but being clear of what I have to offer, what I can offer, and building the trust and building that among the audience. It's really interesting.
Yes, I love the concept. I can after give a couple of books and that talk about a career portfolio. The most interesting one I read was from April Reen, and she's like, she calls herself portfolist, and it's really interesting book. And what I like the most among this concept is that we should be proud of our journey, because all of us, when we have this combined, once we understand our skills, and that comes through experience, like personal and professional, and once you discover, because most part of people, they don't think about it, and it's really like a self-awareness process. It takes some time. It takes some time to deep dive in our minds and remember everything we did and what we like to do. But once we understand the combination of our skills, like start to empower people, and you start to feel really proud of what you've done, and what values you understand, really what you value bring to people. So that's the concept of gems. That is like all of us, we are like a gem, and sometimes we're there in the in the shopping mall, and everybody sees us, and and sometimes we don't update. I don't know the word in English, but we need to look for a little bit. Sometimes it's hidden, but we need to go there and look for that, because it's always there. The golden is in us.
Amazing. Super. Thanks, Maiara. I think we are reaching our time here. And just to say to all our kind of Landers, Maiara is on Slack, so feel free to just ping her whenever you want. If you have any more questions, just, schedule a chat maybe. And I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time, Maiara.
Thank you, Sophie and Tuko. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and thank you all.
Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Maiara. Bye-bye.
Bye.